Hello everyone, in this tutorial I'm going to talk about two different protocols. One is known as SMTP and another is known as POP or POP. So SMTP is basically indicating the protocol known as Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. Okay, so this protocol is used for sending a mail. Okay, and POP or POP indicates post office protocol. So this protocol is used to receive a mail. Okay, so as you see in our tutorial, we're going to see how the emailing system actually works, how the email system actually works. So in case you want to send a mail, then you will be using SMTP or Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, and in case you want to receive a mail, then you'll be using POP or Post Office Protocol. So this is very important to remember which protocol do we use in case of sending or receiving. Alright, so in case of sending we want to use SMTP, and in case of receiving we want to use POP or POP. Okay, so now let's see how both of these work in our Cisco Packet Tracer simulation software. Alright, so this is our Cisco Packet Tracer simulation file, and here you can see the topology is same as before, just like my previous tutorial. So I'm gonna demonstrate SMTP and POP3, both of these protocols using this topology. Okay, so at first I want to go to simulation. Okay, so let me just show you at first that I have already set up some configurations in all of those components. For example, in my laptop 0, I have already configured an email for a random user. So let's say that this PC belongs to someone named Sakib. Okay, so in that case, his email address is already set up in this computer, and the email is actually of the domain name known as BD. Okay, and the mail server which is used for that specific domain is actually this one, mail.bracu.ac.bd. okay, and here you can see the username and password for this specific user. Just like in real life, if you want to set up a Gmail account, then you will be needing a username and a password, and just like that we have set up username and password for this specific user known as Sakib. Okay, so this is for laptop 0, and if I go to laptop 1, you will see that there is another user, and the user's name is Risha. Okay, so her email address is risha@bracu.ac.bd. So this user is also under the domain of bracu.ac.bd, and the mail server is same, mail.bracu.ac.bd, and there's the username and password for that specific user. So just like in real life, so these are the information for our users. And if I go to the server, you will see that I have also set up some necessary configuration in the server too. So if I go to services and then I go to email, then you will see that both of the users information are already set up in this server. Okay, so if I click on this user, you can see his name and his password, and for this user you can see if I click on this user, you can see her name and password, and for this user you can see his name and password over here. Okay, so you may ask a question that why is the password being shown. Okay, so this is just a random simulation, right? This is just an example, that's why the password is like that. But if you consider it as a real life scenario, in that case your password will not be shown as a plain text. Okay, your password will be encrypted using SHA-1 or maybe MD5 or maybe some other different encryption algorithms, and your password will not be plain text. Okay, so don't worry about that. Okay, so you can see that I have already set up the email configuration in that server, and I have already switched on the services for SMTP and POP3. So these are the protocols I'm going to be using. Okay, SMTP Simple Mail Transfer Protocol and POP3 Post Office Protocol version 3. Okay, so these are already switched on in this server. Okay, so let's begin the simulation. So what I want to do is that I want to send a mail from laptop 0 to laptop 1. So basically I want to send a mail from this user from laptop 0 to this user to laptop 1. So I will click on laptop 0 and I will go to email, and just like in real life, I want to compose a mail and then I want to send it to the other user. So this laptop is allocated to the user named Sakib. Okay, so Sakib wants to mail the user owning this laptop. So the user owning this laptop is actually Risha, so I'm gonna write her email address, risha@baku.ac.bd, and there will be a random subject. So maybe the message will be something like, hello, how are you? Okay, so this is the message. So just like in real life, I have included the address where I want to send the mail, and I have written a subject name, and I have also written my actual message. And now the only thing left to do is to press this button, send. So I want to press this button, and you can see that here I have some very specific information like sending mail to risha@baku.ac.bd, since this is the address which was actually in the two part when I composed the mail. Okay, and the subject is random. The mail server we are using is mail.baku.ac.bd. I have already shown you the mail server name a few moments earlier, and here you can see the message, this part over here. So this is actually showing what the process is right now. So the process we're looking at right now is actually known as DNS resolving. That means the internet is trying to resolve the DNS right now. To resolve the DNS, as you know, if we want to run the DNS, we also need to run the ARP first, right? That's why you can see that there are two different packets created, DNS and ARP. So the internet is trying to resolve this server name, mail.baku.ac.bd. So it knows that the server name is this, mail.baku.ac.bd, but it doesn't know its IP address. So it wants to resolve the DNS. Okay, so that's why it is written over here as DNS resolving, and to run the DNS we need the ARP. That's why this ARP packet is created here. So if we run the simulation just as our previous tutorials, since this is the very first time we're running this simulation, so ARP will go on. Okay, so ARP will run, and just like the tutorial done on ARP, you can see that after this step ARP is done, and now the DNS part will begin. So this is just the same as our previous tutorial, so nothing to explain here, nothing new to explain here. So our DNS part is done. Alright, so now that our ARP and DNS part is done, and you will see the message right here, you can see that there is an extra part to this message. So DNS resolved IP address. Okay, so previously we did not have this part. We did have the part till here where my mouse cursor is right now. So DNS resolving name by querying to DNS server, etc. So this is the part which was actually here previously. Okay, but right now a new part is added to this previous part, and this new part is actually saying the DNS resolved IP address. That means by running the DNS successfully, the internet actually resolved the necessary IP address for this specific host name. The internet now knows the IP address for this specific host, mail.baku.ac.bd. So the DNS is resolved now, and now we want to look towards our SMTP protocol. Okay, since I wanted to send a mail, so now you will see that SMTP will run. So at first the SMTP packet is created using these two steps. Now the SMTP will run. So here you can see that the SMTP packet just went from laptop 0, from the user basically, to these components over here, switch 0, and still nothing changed here. So this is the very first part of SMTP. So now if I run another step, then you can see that the SMTP packet now is on the server side. Okay, so it went from switch to the server. So this right here, the path we actually saw from laptop 0 to server 0, so this is basically known as an SMTP request. Okay, so this is basically an SMTP request. So in this request, what it is trying to say is this, that I want to send a mail to risha@baku.ac.bd. Okay, so since I want to send a mail, so I am sending the mail to you. So basically this user is this laptop over here is telling the server that I want to send a mail to risha@baku.ac.bd, and I am sending you the mail, so please receive my mail and give me a confirmation. Okay, so in this part over there, so the initial pathway, let me just rewind it again. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so initially when the SMTP ran for the first time, you can see that this part here, from laptop to switch, so this is basically the actual mail that I want to send. So the mail is being sent to the server. Okay, the mail is being sent to the server, and now the mail is at the server side. But you can see that there is no change at this screen right here. Okay, so there is nothing like any kind of confirmation whether my mail was sent or not. But usually when you use Gmail or Yahoo, you can see that whenever we send a mail, we get an instant confirmation, something like your message was sent, or maybe your mail was sent, or mail sent, something like this. But there's nothing like this information over here. Okay, so this is because I have just sent the mail, but the server didn't confirm it yet. So since the server hasn't confirmed me that yet, so that's why there is no confirmation message over here. So let me just run another step. So this is the response part here, and you can see that the response has reached the switch here. Till now it has reached the switch, but it's still not at the user side. So since it's still not at the user side, so the user is still not sure whether his message was actually received at the server or not. Okay, well, he doesn't know that whether his mail was actually sent to the server or not. So after that, if I run another step, and now you will see that our SMTP part is done, because the SMTP response was actually sent to the user, and now our response is done. And you can see that right over here, you can see a new message that sent success. That means I have successfully sent my email to this server. So don't get confused. I did not actually send the mail directly to the designated receiver. Okay, because I can't do that. If you want to send a mail to your friend, it doesn't mean that the mail will automatically jump from your laptop to your friend's laptop. The mail will definitely go via a server. The server will work as the middleman between you. So you can't just send the mail directly from send the mail directly from your laptop to your friend's laptop. All right, so the mail does need to go through a server. Okay, so that's why you can see that when I sent a mail, the mail was actually sent to the server at first, and then the server responded, and then the user actually gets confirmed that yeah, my mail is sent. Okay, so since the mail is sent, that's why this confirmation message appears over here, which is showing send success. Okay, so right now we have already sent the message, and now we will see how the receiving part works. Okay, so I want to talk to you about the receiving part here. Okay, so since the mail was sent from laptop 0, so let's say I want to receive the mail from laptop 1. So the user here at laptop 1 wants to receive the email. So what will happen? So as you can remember that the all the communications were actually done between laptop 0 and server. The laptop in our scenario, the laptop 1 still hasn't participated in any kind of communication, right? So whenever the laptop 1 starts communication with the server or with anything, then this laptop will have to go through ARP and DNS and then the other protocol. All right, so you will see what I'm saying. So let's say that I want to receive the email using this laptop. So what will happen is that I want to go to laptop 1 and I want to click on email, and you can see that this is the mailbox, and the mailbox is completely clear since I still haven't received any mail. So I want to receive now. So I'm in simulation mode and I want to click on receive. Okay, and you can see that there is a very specific message over here: receiving mail from POP3 server, mail.request DNS resolving name, etc, and blah blah. Okay, so that means the first part over here is actually the same as the first part when the SMTP part was shown. So it is known as DNS resolving. This laptop over here hasn't participated in any of the communication in our topology till now. So this is the very first communication, and since this is the very first communication, so it does need to run ARP and DNS. Okay, so that's why you can see there are two new packets, ARP and DNS, and these are for laptop 1. So if I run the simulation, you can see that the ARP is running, and now the ARP is done, and now the DNS will run as usual. So these are very basic stuffs. So till now you can see the message over here that nothing changed. So the DNS is still not resolved because the response has still not been received in at laptop 1. Alright, so if I run another step, now you can see that my DNS part is done, and here is a tick sign at the laptop 1. That means that our DNS part is done. So the DNS is resolved, and here you can see the new part of this message, DNS resolved IP address. So now the user over here, the laptop here, actually knows the IP address of the designated server. Okay, it previously didn't know the IP address, it only knew the server name, mail.packet.ac.pd, which is actually this server over here, and but it didn't know the IP address. So right now, after running ARP and DNS, so it now knows the IP address for that specific server. Okay, so since it already knows the IP address, now it's time to run the actual protocol needed to receive the mail. Okay, so let's run another step, and you will see that there is a package named POP3. Okay, this packet is being created, and this packet is created here, and now you can see the simulation. If I run another step, this packet will go from laptop 1 to switch. So now I want to just receive the mail. I have already resolved the DNS, so the only part left for me to do is to receive the mail. So the packet went from laptop 1 to switch 0 now, and then you can see that if I want to receive the mail is currently at server 0, right? So if I want to receive the mail, then I have to request server 0 so that it can actually give me the email. So what is actually happening here is this, that laptop 1, at first laptop 1 ran ARP and DNS. So now that it knows the specific IP address, now it wants to request that specific server that, yeah, so I am laptop 1 and I want to receive an email which is actually allocated for me. Okay, so I want to receive my own email, so can you please send me that email? So this is the request that laptop 1 is sending right now. So this purple packet over here, so it is actually indicating the request that I want to receive an email. So do you have my email? If you have one, then please send me that email. Okay, so this is the request part, and the request part reached the server part, as you can see. So this is basically the request. Okay, the server still hasn't responded. It's just that the request has just reached the server side over here. Okay, so laptop 1 requested that it wants to get the email which is actually for laptop 1 from this specific server, and you can see that here nothing actually changed. It is same as before. So now server 0 will check this request, and then it will send a response. Basically server 0 will check whether it has a mail which is actually allocated for laptop 1. That means the user here at laptop 1 is actually Risha, and the email address she holds is risha@braku.ac.bd. So the server will actually check right now that whether the server actually holds any kind of email message which is designated for risha@braku.ac.bd. Since we have already sent a mail from Sakib to Risha, so this server definitely should hold some type of email for risha@bracket.ac.bd, and now the server will respond and send that specific email to that designated user. Okay, so let's see how the response works. So now the server will check and it will send a response. So the server checked, and the response begins. So you can see that the server sent the response from itself to switch, but you can see that there is still no change. It's same as before. So once this response reaches laptop 1, then you will see that there will be something new at this part over here. Okay, so let me run another step. So you can see that the response now is at laptop 1. That means the response actually reached our designated receiver, since the receiver now received her actual email. So now you can see that we have a new information over here which is known as receive mail success. So before this part, before this tick sign over here, we did not see this message, because it's the this user over here still didn't know what was actually happening in the internet, and this user over here still didn't know whether she got the message or not. But right now, since the email actually reached the designated receiver, that's why it is showing a message right now which is known as receive mail success. So in short, our POP3 can be described like this: that at first the receiver will send a request to the designated server to receive his or her email, and then the server will check its own configuration, and then if the request matches, then the server will respond, and that response will eventually reach the actual receiver, and then the receiver will know for sure that the receiving part is done, and this message will be shown to the receiver that receive mail is success. Okay, so this is how actually POP3 works. So one very important thing that you should remember is that for sending an email you cannot use POP3. Okay, for sending an email, the protocol which is always used is known as SMTP, or Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. But for the receiving part, you cannot actually use SMTP. If you want to receive an email from the designated server, then the protocol which is used is known as POP, or Post Office Protocol. In our case, Post Office Protocol version 3. Yeah, you can see, you can search over the internet and you will see that there's also some other protocols which are used nowadays to receive emails, such as IMAP, or IGMP, and etc. Okay, so but we are only demonstrating here the POP3 part. Okay, we are not demonstrating any other part. So maybe if you want to know, you can just go through the internet and you will be able to know about them. Okay, so but POP3 is the most fundamental part of receiving an email. Okay, so that's why we are demonstrating only the POP3 part over here. So please remember that SMTP is used for sending an email and POP3 is used for receiving an email. So that's all for today. Hopefully you understood the tutorial, and we'll see you in the next one.